It was the night before we were to move out of our apartment, and I was lying in bed with an aching question on my heart. I was excited to have a house of our own, more space, hopefully less mice, no more trip to the laundromat. But it hadn't been our choice to move, and if our landlords hadn't sold the building that our apartment was in, I wonder how long it would have taken me to be ready for this change. We'd lived in this apartment since we got married, and only 7 months later, my sister, Carrie, who was the light in my life, was diagnosed with a cancerous brain tumor. And so this was the place I had lived with that. This was the place from which I'd driven to go care for her and visit her. This was the place where I was crying my eyes out, soaking the carpet with my tears. This is where I would wake up shaking with fear in the middle of the night. This is where I got the phone call from my mom saying, "You better come back, something's happening." And that was the night she died. And here was where the mailbox had been filled with sympathy cards for a little while. This apartment was also where I had painted 7.5-year-old Kaylee's portrait, and where I'd started hanging up the drawings she made for me after she told me that she felt like I was her big sister and started calling me sis. And Kaylee, like my sister, had a brain tumor. Kaylee, like my sister, had the heart of an angel and wisdom beyond her years. She listened to Mozart, she listened to Eva Cassidy, Great Big Sea, and The Little Mermaid. And these were the soundtrack to our relationship. This is where I sat up sleepless the night she went into a coma waiting for news of her death. And that apartment, it was where I wrote her eulogy. It was where I did more paintings to express my love for her. Here is where I kept 2 candles burning beside my palette while I painted, one for Carrie and one for Kaylee, and listened to Mozart. This is where I painted and wrote, trying to find some bridge to where they were, or where I imagined they were. Here's where I painted the butterfly. Here's where I painted the shimmer off the edge of the pier. Here's where I painted Kaylee's little toes and Carrie's radiant silhouette. Here's where I heard my sister's laugh coming out of my mouth one day, and where I looked up to see Kaylee's double rainbow in the sky. Where I'd walk to the lake and sit and try to feel their presence. Even my grief itself was a tie to my sister and to Kaylee, and a way to stay connected to them. And this apartment was the only home my grief had ever known. What did it mean to leave this place? Would Carrie and Kaylee know where I'd gone? Would the little glimmers of their presence still know where to find me? With all of that on my heart, I finally drifted off to sleep. When the clock radio clicked on the next morning, I woke up to the sound of Mozart's Concerto No. 21 in C major. It was the first track on Kaylee's Mozart CD. It was my answer. It was going to be okay. As I felt the notes of that piece just settle over me like a blanket, I knew that no matter where I went, Carrie and Kaylee would always be with me. And that even though this apartment was an anchor to memories and to the grief I had for them, it wasn't their true home. Their true home was within me. When someone we love dies, even though nothing can erase the pain of their absence, it is also true that nothing can erase the connection we have with them. We are still in relationship with them. They will always be with us because they are a part of us. I love painting images that express the connection I have with my loved ones, both living and dead, and those beautiful ways that grace and hope and love can continue to visit me wherever I am. I love reflecting on how the challenges and the losses in our lives help us to live better, to notice more beauty, and to appreciate those little gifts. I'd love to have you join me on this journey. Each week, I send out inspiration by email where I share pieces that I've created and reflections and stories behind those paintings. And I love hearing back from those that receive them. I'll share in the description for this video where you can find the link to subscribe. I so look forward to seeing you there.